Hello and welcome back to Alina's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a pecan pie cheesecake. So the first thing we're going to start with making our cheesecake is our graham cracker crust. This crust is super easy to make and it's also delicious to have on the side. So I just have a food processor to blend up my graham crackers as well as my nuts. So I'm just going to open this up. And today I'm using a half a cup of pecans to give it that pecan flavor, as well as 2 packages of graham crackers. So this isn't, if you're looking to lose weight, this is not the recipe for you. So now that I've blended together my nuts and graham crackers so they're a nice crumbly consistency like so, I can add in the rest of my ingredients for my crust. So next thing I'm going to add in is a 1/3 cup of just granulated sugar, as well as some cinnamon and salt. So today I have a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to mix this all together. You can use a whisk, a spoon, a spatula, whatever you have on hand, and it's your preference on this one. I have 8 tablespoons of butter, which I've melted completely. Now that I have added all of my butter and it's now sticking together nicely, I also have my pan today and I've buttered and greased it, and I also lined the bottom of it with parchment paper because you don't want this to stick. And there's a lot of cheesecake going in this, so that would be really disappointing. And also I've preset my oven to 350 degrees because I'm gonna end up baking this for about 10 minutes. It's not gonna fully bake it, but it's going to give it just like a little bit of a pre-bake, and I'm just gonna spread this out and start pressing my graham cracker down and then along the sides of my pan. And I find the best way to get that perfect graham cracker crust is to either use a cup or something that has a nice flat surface. Now on to step 2, the cheesecake filling. To start with, I have my cream cheese, which I have 3 8-ounce bricks of it, so it's going to be quite a lot. And I'm gonna beat this together along with a 3/4 cup of sour cream. So I'm just gonna add this on in, and then I'm gonna beat this until it's nice and smooth. So now that I've beat my cream cheese and sour cream mixture together for about 2 to 3 minutes, I can start adding in my sugar. So the first sugar I have is a dark brown sugar, and I'm just adding in half a cup of that, as well as a 2/3 cup of just granulated sugar. And then to this, I'm also adding in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And once again, we're just gonna wanna beat this all together until it's nice and smooth and creamy. The next step that we have is adding in our eggs. So today I have 5 eggs in total, but I'm only putting in 3 whole eggs as well as 2 egg yolks. So you're gonna wanna make sure those measurements are correct. So I'll start with just cracking in my first 3 eggs. Now that I've beaten my eggs into my batter, I did this quite quickly because at this point you don't want to start adding too much air to it because this is what makes your cheesecake crack in the oven. But if yours does crack, it's not a big deal. We're going to be putting our pecan topping on it, so no worry. But at this point, we're going to start folding in the rest of our ingredients, trying to minimize the amount of air that gets into it. So the next thing I have is 1 tablespoon of bourbon. This is optional, so if you don't want to use alcohol, don't use it. But I like alcohol, so I'm using it today. And I'm just gonna fold this gently into my mixture. And now the last thing I'm going to be adding to my cheesecake batter is my flour. So I have 2 tablespoons of flour, which I'm just gonna fold in gently, being careful to not overmix this. And then we're done, hurrah! Now that I've taken my crust out of the oven and I've finished my cheesecake filling, I've lowered the degree of my oven to 325 degrees, and now all I have to do is pour my cheesecake in. And then I'm also gonna put it in a saucepan, or really any oven safe pan that you have. And I'm gonna be giving my cheesecake a bit of a water bath. This helps it to prevent cracking. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm going to fill my saucepan around my cake tin about halfway up. So now the last thing I have to do is put my cheesecake in the oven at 325 degrees for an hour and 10 minutes. While my cheesecake is baking in the oven, I can start making my pecan topping. So what I have here is you can use a saucepan. My saucepan's in the oven right now, so I'm using my wok. And I'm going to be placing it over low heat. And I'm gonna start melting my butter. And today I have 6 tablespoons of butter. So now that my butter is melted and it's now starting to bubble and get hot, I can add in my brown sugar. And I'm gonna wanna cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes until my brown sugar has dissolved completely and is nice and bubbly and combined. So now I'm going to add in a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/3 cup of heavy cream. And now I'm going to add in, this is quite a quick process, 2 cups of whole pecans. And I'm just gonna fold this together with a rubber spatula until the pecans are covered in this buttery caramel almost mixture. Now that I've moved it off the heat, I can add in my vanilla extract. So I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. As well, this is optional, I'm going to be adding in my bourbon at this time, and I have 1 tablespoon of bourbon. And we can do one final mix. And then I'm just gonna let this set to the side while my cheesecake is cooking. And this can set for up to a few hours. So for as long as your cheesecake needs, it can just hang out and wait for you. Hello and welcome back. It's been a few hours later, so it's dark outside now. And I baked my cake and then I let it cool, and also just to speed up the process for a little bit, I actually put it in my freezer for about an hour. If you don't want to put it in your freezer, you can put it in your fridge for anywhere up to 8 hours to really let it set and come together. And now to get it out of the pan, which I find is the easiest way, is to just flip it out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my plate, and here we go. The moment of truth. 3, 2, 1. And voila, there we have our finished cake. Ta-da-da! And now I'm gonna flip it once more so that our bottom is back on the bottom. So I'm gonna just take my cake stand. Okay, and here we have it. It came out beautifully. And now the last thing I have to do is just top it with the pecans. So I've let these cool a little bit so they're not hot anymore. They've been cooling for about an hour or 2. And I'm just gonna spoon them on and distribute them all over. Here we have our beautiful finished pecan pie cheesecake. It looks delicious, it smells delicious, and I just can't wait to eat it. Now the best part, getting to actually taste it. Gotta get some crust in there. So good, so creamy. This would be so great on a Thanksgiving table. I think I'm doing it this year for mine, or really with any dinner. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you like it, don't forget to share it with a friend. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you like this as much as I do. See you next time. I got this amazing pecan pie cheesecake recipe from Baker by Nature. She has a really nice blog full of holiday treats, and you should definitely check her out.